Well, joining me now to unpack the Prime Minister's trip to China is Shadow Foreign Affairs Minister Michaelia. Senator, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. I asked earlier what has actually changed in our relationship with China during Anthony Albanese's trip, because it seems that this is the same old China making the rules and the Prime Minister bends over backwards to appease. China's Premier Li has urged the PM to ensure Chinese companies are treated in a fair, open and non-discriminatory way, while China's state media says the Port of Darwin is still an issue that needs to be discussed. Senator, the PM didn't raise Darwin during his meetings, but if China has already handed us this list of demands, well, what happens if we don't comply? Is it deja vu, deep freeze all over again?
Well, let's be clear, Danica, that the coalition government wants Australia and China to have a good relationship. They're an important trading partner. The relationship needs to be a respectful one, and that respect needs to go both ways. Mr Albanese needs to be very clear. A decision has been made to return the Port of Darwin to Australian control. Mr Albanese needs to be clear in relation to the decision, and in a respectful relationship, that decision needs to be respected. I mean, the Australian government, like any government, makes decisions in relation to foreign investment on a risk-based, case-by-case basis to ensure that the investment is not contrary to our national interest. I mean, the coalition has been very clear. The return of the Port of Darwin to Australian control is in Australia's best interest. Now, Mr Albanese says his government is committed to the return, but the issue has arisen. Mr Albanese has not taken any action, Danica, to facilitate the return, and his inaction is now creating instability. So Mr Albanese needs to reaffirm the decision in relation to the Port of Darwin returning to Australian control, but he also needs to be very, very clear. What actions is his government taking to facilitate return? What is the process? What is the framework? What is the timeline? Mr Albanese has created himself by his inaction uncertainty. He needs to rectify urgently this situation.
Oh, look, absolutely. I just think he's just so petrified of offending right now. The PM has downplayed a report in the China Daily which claimed he told President Xi he did not want to support Taiwan's independence. Have a listen to what he said.
Well, you're trying to quote a Chinese readout that I haven't seen. What we do is continue to support a one China policy. We support the status quo. By definition, we don't support any unilateral action on Taiwan. That's been our position for a long period of time.
Senator, I mean, sure, OK, he's standing by that position, but the issue is Anthony Albanese's failure to stand up towards China. You know, when it comes to military intimidation, the punitive tariffs, he's not standing up for our values.
Well, I think it is very concerning, Danica, that Mr Albanese did have a meeting, a face-to-face meeting with President Xi Jinping and got no assurances in relation to concerns he raised on regional strategic issues. I think what is even worse, though, is that Mr Albanese says he raised these issues, but from all the reporting, Mr Albanese's concerns have been dismissed. Mr Albanese needs to ensure that in a respectful relationship, because as I said, the coalition wants a relationship with China. They are our largest trading partner. We want the relationship to work. But in a respectful relationship, you listen and then you provide the assurance. The way in which the circumnavigation occurred of Australia was not conducted in a respectful manner. The coalition called it out at the time, and we will call it out again. But let us also be very, very clear. Mr Albanese, when it comes to concerns about stability within the region, should have been clear that that Australia supports the United States' presence in the Indo-Pacific and the stability that the United States brings to the region.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's also very clear that China is trying to drive a wedge right now between Australia and the United States at a time where the US is pressuring us to lift our defence spending, to get a position on Taiwan. It's very clear what China is doing. Senator, I want to ask you on another matter. Big Australia keeps getting bigger. A record 33,000 net permanent and long-term arrivals came into the country in May. Senator, Labor keeps breaking records time and time again when it comes to migration. At the same time, we saw that leaked Treasury advice the other day saying that Labor won't meet its housing targets. Where are we going to put all these people? We can't even get Aussies into houses.
Well, Danica, that's now the obvious question. And the problem is this. There is no answer to that question. The government doesn't have a clue when it comes to housing for Australians, or more generally, housing for people who come here. But what's worse now, Danica, is based on the figures that we have just seen, I don't think the government actually cares. I mean, Danica, you and I understand why people want to come to Australia. It is a great country. However, governments need to ensure that migration is managed sustainably. In other words, if you're bringing people into the country, you need to ensure that there is the appropriate infrastructure, and you need to ensure that not only are there houses for Australians, there are houses for the people you are bringing in. Labor is a failure when it comes to the management of Australia's migration program. But more than that, in failing to ensure the necessary infrastructure and the necessary housing infrastructure, Labor are failing Australians. So I'm sorry, there is no answer to your question, because I don't think Labor actually care, and that's reflected in the latest numbers.
Yeah, completely agree. And big Australia just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Senator Michaelia Cash, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining me on the show this evening. Appreciate it.